I was standing in our kitchen making coffee on an ordinary Tuesday morning when my wife Ashley's phone buzzed on the counter. She was upstairs in the shower, and I glanced at the screen out of pure habit, the same way you might look at a clock without really thinking about it. The preview message made my blood run cold. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you. When can we do that again?" The sender's name was just Jay, with a heart emoji. My hand froze halfway to the coffee pot. 7 years of marriage, 2 beautiful kids sleeping upstairs, a mortgage we'd just refinanced, and a vacation to Yellowstone planned for next month. All of that flashed through my mind in the 3 seconds it took me to process those 21 words. I'm Daniel Garrett, 34 years old, a project manager at a mid-sized construction firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd always considered myself a rational guy. The type who thinks things through, who doesn't jump to conclusions. But standing there in my kitchen, wearing the ratty Duke sweatshirt Ashley had bought me for Christmas 3 years ago, I felt something crack inside my chest. The water shut off upstairs. I grabbed my own phone and took a picture of her screen before I could second-guess myself. My hands were shaking so badly it took 2 tries to get a clear shot. Then I set her phone back exactly where it had been, next to the fruit bowl with the browning bananas I kept meaning to use for banana bread. The coffee maker beeped. I poured 2 cups, added cream to Ashley's the way she liked it, and carried both mugs to the kitchen table. When she came downstairs 5 minutes later, her dark hair still damp and smelling like coconut shampoo, I was scrolling through my work emails like nothing had happened. "You're an angel," she said, kissing the top of my head as she grabbed her coffee. "I've got that early meeting with the marketing team. Probably won't be home until 7. I looked up at her, really looked at her. Ashley was 32, still as beautiful as the day I'd met her at a mutual friend's barbecue 9 years ago. She worked as a regional sales director for a pharmaceutical company, a job that required frequent travel and long hours. She was wearing her navy blue power suit, the one that made her look like she could close any deal. 7? I asked, keeping my voice steady. "That's pretty late for a Tuesday." "Yeah, well, we're launching that new product line next month. You know how crazy it gets." She was already checking her own phone, scrolling through messages with her thumb. Her face didn't change. She didn't flinch, didn't look guilty. Just sipped her coffee and typed out a response to someone. "Right," I said. "Good luck with the meeting." She kissed me again, this time on the lips, a quick, distracted peck, and grabbed her bag from the counter. "Can you get the kids to school? I really need to run." "Of course." The garage door opened and closed. Her Lexus SUV backed out of the driveway. I watched through the kitchen window as she drove away, talking on her phone before she'd even reached the end of our street. I sat there for exactly 3 minutes, staring at my coffee. Then I went upstairs and woke up our kids, Emma, who was 6, and Tyler, who was 4. I got them dressed, made them breakfast, packed their lunches, and drove them to Riverside Elementary like I did every Tuesday and Thursday. I smiled at the other parents in the drop-off line. I reminded Emma about her soccer practice at 4:30. I told Tyler to have fun in art class. Then I drove to work, sat through a project meeting about the new medical center we were building in Concord, reviewed contractor bids, and answered approximately 47 emails. I was functioning on autopilot, my body going through the familiar motions while my brain ran in circles. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe Jay was a girlfriend. Maybe last night referred to something completely platonic, but I knew. Deep in my gut, in that primitive part of your brain that recognizes danger before your conscious mind catches up, I knew. During my lunch break, I sat in my truck in the parking lot and stared at the photo I'd taken. The message was still there, pixels on a screen that refused to rearrange themselves into something less devastating. I opened my laptop and did something I'd never imagined doing. I created a new email account under a fake name and started researching. Not how to save my marriage or how to talk to your spouse about infidelity. No, I searched for something much more specific: divorce laws in North Carolina, evidence collection, and how to protect yourself financially when you suspect your partner is cheating. North Carolina is one of the few states that still recognizes alienation of affection, I learned. You can actually sue the person who broke up your marriage. That fact sat in my mind like a stone. I also learned that North Carolina requires a full year of separation before you can file for divorce. A year. 12 months of living in limbo while your life falls apart in slow motion. But I was getting ahead of myself. I didn't even know for sure what was happening. I needed proof. Real, concrete, undeniable proof. I closed my laptop and called my buddy Ryan, who worked in IT security. We'd been friends since college, and he owed me a favor after I'd helped him move last summer. "Hey man," I said when he picked up. "I need to ask you something, and I need you to not ask questions." There was a pause. "This sounds serious." "It is. Is there a way to monitor someone's phone activity? Like, legally?" Another pause, longer this time. "Danny, what's going on?" "I can't explain yet. I just need to know if it's possible." Ryan texted back 40 minutes later while I was pretending to review blueprints for the medical center expansion. "Can meet at 5:30. Usual spot." The usual spot was a sports bar called Hannigan's, halfway between our offices. We'd been meeting there since college, first for games, then for the occasional catch-up after life got complicated with wives and kids and mortgages. I spent the rest of the afternoon watching the clock. Every minute stretched like taffy. I approved invoices I barely read. I nodded through a conference call about HVAC systems. My project coordinator asked me twice if I was feeling okay. "Just tired," I said. "Tyler was up half the night." The lie came easy. Too easy. At 5:15, I told everyone I was heading out early for a dentist appointment. Another lie. I was getting good at this. Hannigan's hadn't changed in 10 years. Same scarred wooden booths, same neon beer signs, same smell of fried food and stale beer. Ryan was already there, nursing a Coke in our regular booth near the back. He'd put on maybe 15 pounds since graduation, his hairline creeping back, but he still had that same sharp look in his eyes. The look that had made him valuable to half a dozen companies before he settled into his current gig doing cybersecurity consulting. "You look like hell," he said as I slid into the booth. "Yeah, well." A waitress appeared. I ordered a beer I didn't want. When she left, Ryan leaned forward. "So, you want to tell me what this is really about?" I'd rehearsed this conversation in my head during the drive over. How much to say? How much to keep close? In the end, I pulled out my phone and showed him the photograph I'd taken that morning. He studied it for maybe 10 seconds. His expression didn't change. "Okay," he said, handing the phone back. "I'm sorry, man. I need to know for sure." "You already know." "I need proof." The waitress brought my beer. I waited until she was gone again. "Can you access her phone remotely? See her messages, emails, that kind of thing?" Ryan sat back, his face carefully neutral. "Legally? What does that mean?" "It means if she finds out, she could press charges. It means anything you find might not be admissible in court. It means you need to be very careful about how you proceed." I took a drink. The beer tasted like cardboard. "North Carolina's a one-party consent state for recording," Ryan continued. "But that doesn't apply to hacking someone's phone or email, even if it's your spouse, even if you're on the same family plan." "What if I had her password?" "Do you?" I thought about all the times I'd seen Ashley unlock her phone, the way her thumb moved across the screen in that familiar pattern. I'd never paid attention before. Never needed to. "No," I admitted. Ryan drummed his fingers on the table. "There are other ways, less technical. If she's using the family computer, you could check browser history, cached passwords. If she's backing up her phone to a shared cloud account, you might be able to access that. Does she use an iPhone? Yeah. iCloud backup turned on? I don't know. Find out. If it is, and if you have the Apple ID credentials, you can see everything without touching her phone. Messages, photos, emails, the whole thing. My heart started beating faster. How do I check that? You'd need to log into iCloud from a computer. Use her email and password. He paused. Do you know her email password? I thought about it. We had a shared family email for bills and school stuff, but Ashley had her own personal account. And her work account. I'd never tried to access either. Maybe, I said. We use the same password for a lot of things. Our anniversary plus some numbers. Ryan's expression suggested he thought that was a terrible security practice, but he didn't say it out loud. Try it, he said. Tonight, when she's asleep or in the shower. Use your laptop, go to iCloud.com, try to log in with her email and whatever passwords you think she might use. If you get in, you can see if her phone's being backed up. And if it is, then you'll have access to everything. Messages, call logs, location history if she has that enabled. Photos. He looked at me hard. Are you sure you want to see what's there? I thought about Emma and Tyler sleeping in their beds this morning. About the house we'd bought 3 years ago. About Ashley standing in our kitchen in her power suit, lying to my face about working late. Yeah, I said. I'm sure. We sat in silence for a minute. Sports highlights played on the TV above the bar. Someone won something. The crowd on screen cheered. One more thing, Ryan said. If you do this, you need to be smart about it. Don't access it from your work computer. Too many logs. Use your personal laptop, but do it from a browser in private mode. Don't download anything to your device if you can help it. If you need to save something, take photos with your phone. And for God's sake, don't tell anyone what you're doing. Not even my lawyer? You have a lawyer already? Not yet, but I looked up some names today. Ryan shook his head slowly. You're moving fast. She moved first. He couldn't argue with that. I left Hannigan's at 6:15, my beer barely touched. The drive home took 20 minutes through rush hour traffic. I used the time to think through the plan. Ashley had said she'd be home by 7. That gave me maybe 30 minutes if I went straight home. But 30 minutes wasn't enough. I needed time. I needed her occupied, distracted. I pulled into a grocery store parking lot and called her cell. She answered on the 3rd ring. Hey, what's up? Background noise. Voices. It sounded like she was in a restaurant or bar. Where are you? I asked, keeping my voice light. Just wrapping up the marketing meeting. We moved it to Bentley's. You know, that new place downtown? They have a private room we could use. Bentley's. I knew it. Upscale, expensive, not the kind of place you'd go for a working dinner unless someone else was paying. Okay, I said. Listen, I'm running late too. Can you pick up the kids from your mom's? I asked her to get them from school today. A pause. I thought you were doing pickup. Something came up at work, the Concord project. I texted your mom this afternoon. Another pause, longer this time. I could almost hear her recalculating her evening. Fine, she said finally. I'll get them. But I can't stay long. I still have emails to catch up on tonight. No problem. I'll be home by 8. I hung up before she could ask more questions. My hands were shaking. I hadn't asked my mother-in-law to pick up the kids. Emma and Tyler were at their regular after-school programs, soccer practice and art class, where they stayed until 5:30 every Tuesday. I'd picked them up an hour ago and dropped them at my parents' house with a vague story about Ashley and I both working late. My mom had looked concerned but hadn't pushed. We'll feed them dinner, she'd said. Take your time. Now Ashley would drive to her mother's house and find the kids weren't there. She'd call her mom, confused. Her mom would say she didn't know anything about it. Ashley would call me, probably angry, and I'd have at least an hour, maybe more, of her being completely distracted and away from home. I pulled out of the parking lot and headed home, my heart hammering against my ribs. The house was dark when I arrived. I parked in the garage and went inside, not bothering to turn on lights. I went straight upstairs to our bedroom and grabbed Ashley's laptop from her nightstand. My hands were still shaking as I opened it. The screen glowed to life, asking for a password. I typed in our anniversary, 10/14, followed by 2016, the year we got married. Invalid password. I tried it again with just the date, no year. Invalid password. I sat on the edge of our bed, thinking, what else would she use? Her birthday? The kids' birthdays? My phone buzzed. Ashley calling. I let it ring. The phone kept ringing, Ashley's name glowing on the screen like an accusation. I let it go to voicemail, my fingers hovering over the keyboard of her laptop. The anniversary hadn't worked. What else would she use? I tried Emma's birthday. Tyler's birthday. Both wrong. Think, Daniel. Think like her. Her phone started ringing again immediately. She knew something was wrong. The kids weren't where I'd said they'd be, and now I wasn't answering. She'd be panicking, or at least pretending to panic. Hard to tell which anymore. I tried her own birthday. Nothing. Then it hit me. The day she got promoted to regional director. She'd been so proud, had the date engraved on that ridiculous Tiffany bracelet she wore to important meetings. I pulled up her Instagram, scrolling back 2 years until I found the post. March 14th. A31482. The laptop unlocked. My hands were shaking as I navigated to her iCloud settings, found the account information. The email was her work address, but the password reset security questions. Those were personal. Mother's maiden name. First pet. Street she grew up on. I knew all of them. 7 years of marriage and I knew every answer. 5 minutes later, I was logged into her iCloud account on my own phone, watching as years of data began syncing. Photos, messages, emails. All of it downloading in the darkness of our living room while her laptop sat open on the coffee table, still logged in. Her phone stopped ringing. A text came through instead. Daniel, where are the kids? Your mother says they're not there. What's going on? I typed back, they're safe, running errands. Emma wanted to see your mom, changed plans last minute. Phone died, just saw your messages. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Okay, finishing up here. Home by 8. Finishing up. At Bentley's. At her marketing meeting. I opened the iCloud Messages app on my phone. It took a moment to load, then suddenly I was looking at every text conversation Ashley had ever had, synchronized in real time with her phone. I found Jay immediately. My stomach dropped as I scrolled up, watching weeks of messages materialize. The conversation went back months, 6 months at least. Missing you already? That thing you did with your tongue. Counting down until Friday. Wore the blue dress you like. Thinking of you taking it off later. I kept scrolling, each message a small detonation in my chest. They were careful mostly. No names in the messages themselves. Lots of emojis. Lots of code words that probably seemed clever to them. But there were details. References to places, times. The Yellowstone trip we'd planned for next month, she'd told Jay she was going to cancel it. Can't do a week with him right now. Need space to think. The late nights she'd been working, at least half of them were lies. Told Dee I have a client dinner. Meet you at our spot at 7? Our spot. They had a spot. I found a photo in the thread from 3 weeks ago. Ashley in a black dress I'd never seen, sitting at a restaurant table. The photo was taken from across the table, intimate, close. The caption, beautiful as always. I reverse image searched it. The restaurant was in uptown Charlotte, a place called Meridian. Expensive, romantic, the kind of place you take someone when you're trying to impress them. I'd been home with the kids that night, watching Paw Patrol and eating chicken nuggets. My phone buzzed. Another text from Ashley. Actually, might be later than 8. This is running long. Don't wait up. I looked at the time. 7:47 p.m. Then I opened the Find My iPhone app, still logged into her iCloud account. Ashley's phone was not at Bentley's restaurant. It was at the Ritz-Carlton downtown Charlotte, not moving. Hadn't moved in over an hour. I sat there in the dark, staring at that little blue dot on the map. The Ritz-Carlton, where we'd spent our wedding night 7 years ago, where we'd celebrated our 5th anniversary, where she was right now, with someone who wasn't me. I could drive there, confront them, kick down the door like some character in a bad movie. But Ryan's voice echoed in my head. Evidence. Documentation. The legal system doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about what you can prove. I went back to the messages, started taking screenshots. Every conversation, every photo, every lie documented in glowing pixels. Then I opened her email. The work account was mostly legitimate. Client communications, internal memos, sales reports. But there was a personal Gmail account linked to the iCloud that I'd never known about. Ashley.Garrett. Personalagmail.com. The inbox was sparse. She'd been careful here too, deleting most messages. But she'd missed the sent folder. I found hotel confirmations. Ritz-Carlton, Charlotte. 4 different dates over the past 2 months. Always booked under her name, always charged to a credit card I didn't recognize. I found dinner reservations. Meridian, the Crescent, Fig Tree. All the places she'd told me she was having client dinners. I found one email sent 3 days ago that made my blood stop. Jay, I think I'm ready to tell him. We can't keep doing this. It's not fair to anyone, especially the kids. I need to be honest about what I want, what we are. I'll talk to him this weekend. I love you. A. This weekend. She was planning to tell me this weekend. I looked at our family photo on the mantle, the one from last Christmas. Emma and Tyler in matching pajamas, Ashley and I smiling behind them. 4 people who looked happy. 4 people who looked like they belonged together. That family didn't exist anymore. Maybe it never had. My phone buzzed again. Not Ashley this time. Ryan. Did you get in? I typed back. Yeah, it's bad. How bad? Hotel receipts. Months of messages. She's there right now. 3 dots. Then, Jesus, man. I'm sorry. You need anything? I thought about that. What did I need? Can you pull phone records? I need to know who Jay is. That's harder. Would need her carrier login or a subpoena. But if you have access to her iCloud, check the contacts. See if there's more info there. I opened the Contacts app. Scrolled to Jay. The heart emoji was there, but no last name. Just a phone number. I copied the number, opened a new browser window, started searching. Reverse phone lookup sites, social media, anything. Nothing came up immediately. The number was a cell phone, Charlotte area code, but no name attached in any public database. Then I remembered. Her work email. She'd been using her personal account for the affair, but what about her work account? I searched the work email for the phone number. One result. An email from 8 months ago, a company-wide introduction. Please join me in welcoming Jason Murphy to our Southeast Regional team. Jason will be serving as our new district sales manager, reporting directly to Ashley Garrett. His contact information is below. Jason Murphy. I Googled him. Found his LinkedIn in seconds. 36 years old. Previously worked at 3 other pharmaceutical companies. Graduated from UNC Chapel Hill. In his profile photo, he had dark hair, a calculated smile, and an expensive suit. He looked exactly like the kind of guy who'd sleep with his boss. My wife. I sat there, the pieces falling into place. She'd hired him 8 months ago. The affair started 6 months ago, based on the messages. He reported to her, which meant she had power over his career, which meant this was even messier than I'd thought. Ashley's location dot still hadn't moved from the Ritz-Carlton. I looked at the time. 8:23 p.m. She'd said she'd be home by 8, then said it would be later. How much later? How long did they need? I took more screenshots, downloaded everything I could, forwarded key emails to my own account, built my case, piece by piece, while they built their lies. My phone rang. Ashley again. This time, I answered. "Hey," I said, keeping my voice steady. "Sorry, been running around." "What's up?" "Just checking in. This meeting is dragging on forever. Probably won't be home until 9:30, maybe 10. In the background, I heard nothing. No restaurant noise, no voices, just silence. "No problem," I said. "Take your time. Kids are good." "You sure everything's okay? You sound weird." "Just tired. Long day." "Okay. Love you." The words hung there, poisonous. "Yeah," I said. "You too." I hung up and stared at that blue dot on the map, still glowing at the Ritz-Carlton. Then I started making plans. The Ritz-Carlton's valet stand came into view at 7:43 p.m. I'd parked 2 blocks away, walking the distance in the October chill. The same hotel where we'd spent our wedding night 7 years ago. Where I'd carried her across the threshold of the honeymoon suite while she laughed and kissed my neck. Where we'd ordered room service at midnight and talked about baby names we both loved. Now she was up there with him. My phone buzzed. Ashley's location hadn't moved in 47 minutes. Still on the 8th floor, I'd cross-referenced her GPS coordinates with the hotel's floor plan available online. The executive suites. Another text from her appeared. "Meeting running late. Probably another hour. Love you." 3 words that used to mean everything. Now they were just pixels on a screen, hollow and performative. I stood across the street, partially hidden by a bus shelter, and watched the entrance. Couples walked in and out, a family with luggage, business travelers with roller bags and tired expressions, all of them living normal lives while mine disintegrated. My hands were steady. That surprised me. I'd expected rage, maybe tears. Instead, I felt cold, calculating, like I was managing a construction project, identifying problems and formulating solutions. The evidence on my phone was comprehensive. Screenshots of messages, hotel reservations, restaurant receipts charged to her corporate card, the fake email account. 6 months of lies, all documented and backed up to 3 separate cloud services Ryan had helped me set up. But I needed more. North Carolina's alienation of affection law required proof of 3 things: a valid marriage, affection between spouses, and wrongful conduct that destroyed that affection. I had the first 2. The messages proved the third. But a lawsuit like that, one that could cost Jason Murphy everything, needed to be airtight. I needed photographs. The thought settled over me like a weight. Not of them together, necessarily. I wasn't some private investigator hiding in bushes. But I needed visual proof they were here, in this hotel, at the same time. Time-stamped and undeniable. My phone showed 8:02 p.m. when the valet stand doors opened. Jason Murphy stepped out first. I recognized him from the LinkedIn profile I'd pulled up an hour ago. Tall, maybe 6'1", with the kind of build that suggested regular gym sessions. Dark hair styled with too much product. Expensive suit, charcoal gray, probably Italian. He had his phone to his ear, laughing at something, gesturing with his free hand. Then Ashley emerged behind him. My breath caught despite the coldness I'd wrapped around myself. She wore the navy dress I'd complimented that morning. Her hair was different, though, down instead of in the professional bun she'd left the house with. She looked relaxed, happy. She touched his arm while they waited for the valet to bring their cars, and he covered her hand with his. I raised my phone and started recording. They weren't kissing or doing anything explicitly intimate. They didn't need to. The body language told the story. The way she leaned into him, how his hand rested on the small of her back, the familiar comfort between them that comes from months of practiced deception. The valet brought Ashley's Lexus first. Jason opened her door, said something that made her laugh, then kissed her cheek. Quick, casual, like they'd done it 1,000 times. She drove away at 8:09 p.m. Jason's BMW arrived 3 minutes later. He tipped the valet, climbed in, and pulled onto the street heading the opposite direction. I stopped recording and checked the footage. Clear, well-lit, time-stamped. Both of them leaving the Ritz-Carlton within minutes of each other, exactly when she'd told me she was at a business meeting at Bentley's. My phone buzzed again. Ashley. Finally wrapping up. Heading home now. Want me to grab takeout? I typed back, already ate with the kids. Drive safe. She replied with a heart emoji. I walked back to my truck, the video file automatically uploading to the secure cloud storage Ryan had configured. Evidence file number 47. The house was quiet when she got home at 8:52 p.m. I'd beaten her by 15 minutes, enough time to change into sweatpants and position myself on the couch with my laptop open to a spreadsheet for the Concord Medical Center project. The TV played Sports Center on low volume. "Hey, babe," she called from the mudroom. I heard her heels hit the floor, her keys land in the bowl on the counter. "Hey, how was the meeting?" She appeared in the living room doorway, already pulling pins from her hair. She looked tired. Or maybe that was guilt I was seeing now that I knew what to look for. Exhausting. Bentley's was packed, and the service was slow. We didn't even get our entrees until almost 8. The lies came so easily. She'd had 6 months to practice. "I'm going to take a quick shower and head to bed. Tomorrow's going to be brutal." "Okay," I said, not looking up from my laptop. She paused. I could feel her watching me. "You okay? You seem quiet." I glanced up and manufactured a smile. "Just tired. Long day. The Concord project's hitting some permitting issues." "Want to talk about it?" "Nah, it's boring work stuff. Go shower. I'll be up soon." She crossed the room and kissed the top of my head. I smelled her perfume, the expensive one she saved for special occasions, mixed with something else. Men's cologne, probably. Jason's. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. I just returned to my spreadsheet while she headed upstairs. The shower started running at 9:04 p.m. I opened my phone and reviewed tonight's evidence. The video was damning. Her lawyer would hate it, and Jason's would hate it more. Combined with the messages, the hotel records, the credit card receipts, I had everything I needed for the divorce. But that wasn't enough anymore. She'd used our wedding hotel. She'd lied while wearing the dress I'd complimented. She'd texted, "Love you," while walking out of another man's hotel room. Every detail was a calculated insult, whether she realized it or not. I opened a new browser tab and searched for Jason Murphy's home address. Public records showed a condo in South End, purchased 2 years ago for $480,000. Mortgage through Wells Fargo. No wife, no kids listed. Another tab, his social media. Instagram showed the usual sales guy content. Motivational quotes, gym selfies, photos from sales conferences. One recent post from a restaurant I recognized from Ashley's credit card statements. The date matched. I screenshot everything. Then I opened my email and started a new draft. No recipient yet. Just a subject line. regarding your relationship with my wife. I didn't write anything in the body, not yet, but I wanted it ready. Wanted to know I could send it whenever I decided the time was right. The shower stopped at 9:23 p.m. I closed the laptop and headed upstairs, moving on autopilot through the nighttime routine we'd performed thousands of times. Brush teeth, check the doors, set the alarm, climb into bed beside the woman who'd promised to love me until death do us part. She was already under the covers, phone glowing in the darkness. "Night," she murmured, not looking up from whatever she was typing. Probably texting him. Probably saying the meeting went fine. Her husband suspected nothing. They could meet again soon. "Night," I replied. I lay there in the dark, listening to her breathing even out as she fell asleep. My mind ran through scenarios, possibilities, timelines. When to confront her. When to file. When to contact Jason's employer, Ashley's employer, with the evidence of their relationship. When to burn it all down. The answer came to me around midnight, clear and simple. This weekend. She'd planned to confess then anyway, according to her messages with Jason. Some misguided attempt to control the narrative, probably. To make herself feel better about the betrayal by finally being honest. I'd let her try. Let her sit me down, probably Saturday morning after the kids were occupied. Let her stumble through her rehearsed speech about how she never meant for this to happen, how she still cared about me, how she wanted to handle this maturely for Emma and Tyler's sake. Then I'd show her exactly how much I already knew. And after that, I'd show Jason Murphy what it cost to sleep with another man's wife in North Carolina. The coffee shop was my idea. Not for nostalgia or sentiment. Ashley and I had never been to Monarch Coffee Roasters before. But I'd done my research. The place was popular with the downtown pharmaceutical crowd, close enough to Ashley's office that her colleagues frequented it during lunch breaks. Public enough to matter. Small enough that everyone would hear everything. I'd been coming here every morning for the past week, establishing myself as a regular. Same time, same order. Large dark roast, black. The barista, a 20-something woman named Chloe with a nose ring and impressive foam art skills, had started recognizing me by Wednesday. "Morning, Daniel," she said Friday when I walked in. "Dark roast?" "You know it." I paid with cash, left a generous tip, made small talk about the weather. Building rapport, becoming part of the landscape. What I was really doing was reconnaissance. The shop had exposed brick walls covered in local art, mismatched furniture that tried too hard to look vintage, and terrible acoustics. Conversations carried. The espresso machine was loud enough to cover whispered discussions, but not raised voices. There were no security cameras inside. I'd checked. Just a single camera over the register that pointed at the counter, not the seating area. Perfect. By Friday afternoon, I had Ashley's weekend confession timeline. She'd told Emma and Tyler we were having a special grown-up dinner Saturday night, arranging for them to sleep at her mother's house. She'd made reservations at Fin and Fino, the upscale seafood place where I'd proposed. She was planning this like a production, complete with symbolic location. She had no idea I was planning my own production. Saturday morning I texted her. Change of plans. Let's do coffee first, around 10. Monarch Coffee Roasters, downtown. We can talk before dinner. 3 minutes passed before she responded. Coffee? Why? Just want to spend time together. No kids, no rush. We can talk. Another pause. I could practically see her recalculating, wondering if I somehow knew, deciding whether this complicated or simplified her planned confession. Okay, see you there. I arrived at Monarch at 9:45 a.m., parking where I could watch the entrance. The Saturday morning crowd was lighter than weekdays, mostly students with laptops, a few couples, some solo readers. I'd chosen this time deliberately. Busy enough to have witnesses, not so packed that we'd be lost in the noise. Chloe was working the counter again. I ordered my usual dark roast and took a seat at a two-top table near the window. Good sight lines to the entrance and the counter. Close enough to the other tables that people would notice a disturbance, but not so close they'd feel obligated to intervene immediately. Ashley's Lexus pulled up at 9:58. She was punctual, I'd give her that. She walked in wearing jeans and a cream-colored sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. Weekend casual. She looked beautiful and nervous, scanning the shop until she spotted me. I raised a hand. "Hey," she said, sliding into the chair across from me. "This place is cute. How'd you find it?" "Friend recommended it." I kept my voice neutral. "Want anything? Their lattes are supposed to be good." "Sure, vanilla latte if they have it." I stood. "Be right back." At the counter, Chloe greeted me with her usual smile. "Another dark roast?" "And a vanilla latte, please." "You got it. For here?" "Yeah." I watched her work, the precise movements of someone who'd made thousands of drinks. She pulled the espresso shots, steamed the milk, poured with the careful tilt that created those Instagram-worthy designs. Today's was a heart, the foam white against the dark coffee beneath. A heart. The irony wasn't lost on me. I paid, left another generous tip, and carried both drinks back to the table. Ashley had her phone out but put it away when I sat down. "Thanks." She wrapped her hands around the ceramic mug. "So, you wanted to talk?" I did. I took a sip of my coffee. It was good. Rich, smooth. No bitterness. "Actually, I've been wanting to talk all week, but I thought we should do it somewhere neutral, away from the kids." Her fingers tightened slightly on the mug. "Okay. How's work been?" I asked. "Busy?" "Daniel, genuinely curious. You've had a lot of late meetings lately. That medical center project in Concord has been eating my time, so I know how it is when work gets intense." She studied me, trying to read my expression. "It's been stressful." "I bet. Managing a whole regional team, all those direct reports. Must be hard to maintain professional boundaries when you're working such long hours together." The color drained from her face. Just slightly, but I saw it. "What are you—" "I know about Jason." 3 words. Simple, direct. I said them quietly, conversationally, like I was commenting on the weather. Ashley froze, the latte halfway to her lips. "I know about the Ritz-Carlton," I continued. "The fake business dinners, the hotel rooms, all of it." She set the mug down carefully like she was afraid it might shatter. "Daniel, I can explain—" "Can you?" I pulled out my phone, opened the Photos app, and slid it across the table. "Explain this." The first image was a screenshot of their text exchange. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." She stared at it, her hand trembling slightly as she reached for the phone. "Swipe," I said. She did. More screenshots. Hotel receipts. The video of her and Jason leaving the Ritz-Carlton together, his hand on her lower back. "I was going to tell you," she whispered. "Tonight, at dinner. That's why I made the reservation. At Fin and Fino, where I proposed." I leaned back in my chair. "Nice touch. Really thoughtful venue selection for destroying our marriage. Please keep your voice down." "Why?" I didn't raise my volume, but my tone sharpened. "Worried about making a scene? Concerned about your reputation? The kids are at your mother's house, remember? You arranged that for your big confession dinner." Ashley's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It happened, and I didn't mean for it to last 6 months." I took another sip of coffee, watching her over the rim. "Didn't mean for it to involve the hotel where we got married? Didn't mean for you to tell him you loved him?" She went white. "You read everything. Every email, every text, every calendar entry." I've known for a week, Ashley. I've been watching you lie to my face every single day. Then why? Her voice cracked. Why didn't you say something? Because I wanted to see if you'd actually go through with it. Your confession. I wanted to know if you had the guts to look me in the eye and tell me yourself, or if you'd keep lying until I forced your hand. The tears spilled over now, running down her cheeks. Around us, I could feel the attention of other patrons shifting our way. Conversations quieting. Heads turning. Good. I love you, Ashley said desperately. I know I messed up, but I love you. We can fix this. Counseling, whatever you need. You love me, I said it flatly. You love me so much you've been sleeping with your subordinate for half a year. You love me so much you used our wedding hotel for your affair. You love me so much you were planning to destroy our family tonight over Chilean sea bass. It's not like that. Then what is it like, Ashley? Explain it to me. She opened her mouth, closed it, tried again. I can't. I picked up her vanilla latte, studying the foam heart that Chloe had crafted so carefully. You know what's funny? This heart right here. The barista probably makes dozens of these every day. Little symbols of love and care and coffee foam. They last about 5 minutes before they dissolve into nothing. Daniel? That's what we are, aren't we? Foam art. Pretty on the surface, but no substance underneath. Dissolving the moment reality touches it. I stood, picking up her latte. What are you doing? Ashley asked. Making sure everyone here knows exactly what kind of person you are. Her eyes widened. Don't! I dumped the entire latte over her head. The hot liquid cascaded down her face, soaking her cream sweater, dripping onto her jeans. The foam heart that had been so carefully crafted dissolved instantly, running down her hair in milky rivulets. Ashley gasped, sputtering, her hands flying up too late to block it. The coffee shop went completely silent. That's for 7 years of marriage, I said calmly. For 2 kids who are going to grow up in a broken home because you couldn't keep your professional life professional. For every lie you told me while I trusted you. You psycho! Ashley shot to her feet, coffee dripping from her hair, her face flushed with humiliation and rage. You're insane! No. I pulled out a stack of printed photos from my jacket pocket. Screenshots of her messages with Jason, the hotel receipts, everything. I dropped them on the table, where they immediately started absorbing the spilled coffee. I'm just done being the idiot who didn't see what was right in front of him. Chloe had come out from behind the counter, her expression shocked. Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. I'm going. I looked at Ashley one last time. My lawyer will be in touch. And Ashley, you might want to update your LinkedIn profile, because when your company finds out you've been having an affair with a direct report, that's a termination-level HR violation. I walked out of Monarch Coffee Roasters and didn't look back. The drive home from Monarch Coffee Roasters took 18 minutes. I watched the clock on my dashboard count every one of them. My hands didn't shake on the wheel. My breathing stayed even. The satisfaction I'd expected, the cathartic release of finally confronting her, never materialized. Instead, I felt hollowed out, like someone had scooped everything from my chest and left only the framework behind. The vanilla latte had dripped down Ashley's face in slow rivulets, soaking into the collar of her white blouse. The cafe had gone silent. Every conversation had stopped mid-sentence as people turned to stare at the woman with coffee in her hair and the man walking away with his shoulders squared. I'd wanted her to feel exposed, humiliated, the way I'd felt scrolling through 6 months of her lies. Mission accomplished, I supposed. Back home, the house felt different. Emptier, even though nothing had physically changed. Emma's backpack still hung on its hook by the door. Tyler's toy trucks still cluttered the living room floor. The family photo from last Christmas still smiled down from the mantel, all 4 of us in matching red sweaters that Ashley had insisted we buy. I'd sent the kids to my parents' house yesterday telling them Grandma and Grandpa wanted to take them to the Science Museum. Emma had been thrilled. Tyler had packed his favorite dinosaur. They didn't know their world was ending. I pulled out my phone and opened the folder where I'd stored everything. Screenshots of messages, hotel receipts, the video from the Ritz-Carlton, copies of Ashley's iCloud backup going back 6 months. Ryan had helped me compile it all into a single encrypted file, organized by date with a master index. "This is nuclear," he'd said when I showed him the completed documentation. "You're sure you want to go through with this?" I'd been sure then. I was still sure now. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "We need to talk. Please." Ashley. She must have borrowed someone's phone after I left the cafe. I deleted it without responding. 3 minutes later, another buzz. This time from her actual number. "I know you're angry. I deserve that. But we need to discuss this like adults. For the kids." My thumb hovered over the keyboard. The old Daniel, the one from a week ago, would have responded. Would have tried to work things out, to understand, to find some path forward. That Daniel was gone. I blocked her number and opened my email instead. The message I drafted last night sat in my drafts folder, addressed to Stephanie Young, VP of Human Resources at Meridian Pharmaceuticals. I'd spent 2 hours crafting it, making sure every word was precise and professional. No emotion, just facts. "Dear Ms. Young, I am writing to inform you of a situation involving 2 of your employees that represents a significant ethics violation and potential liability for Meridian Pharmaceuticals. My wife, Ashley Garrett, Regional Sales Director for the Southeast Territory, has been engaged in a romantic relationship with Jason Murphy, District Sales Manager, for approximately 6 months. As Mr. Murphy reports directly to Mrs. Garrett, this represents a clear conflict of interest in violation of your company's fraternization policy. I have documented evidence of this relationship, including text messages, hotel receipts charged to company credit cards, and photographic evidence. Several of their encounters occurred during what were reported as business meetings, suggesting potential misuse of company resources. I am providing this information as a courtesy, as I believe Meridian has a right to be aware of the situation. I have attached a sample of the documentation for your review. Sincerely, Daniel Garrett. My finger moved to the send button. This was the point of no return. Not the coffee shop confrontation. That had been theater, emotional release. This was different. This would end Ashley's career, or at least damage it severely. Regional sales directors didn't survive sleeping with their subordinates, especially not when company resources were involved. I thought about Emma asking why Mommy seemed sad lately. Tyler climbing into my lap to show me his latest drawing. 7 years of marriage. The house we'd bought together. The life we'd built. Then I thought about Ashley's face in that video, laughing as Jason held the door for her at the Ritz-Carlton. The hotel where we'd spent our wedding night. The casual cruelty of that choice. I pressed send. The email whooshed away into the digital void. Done. My phone rang immediately. Ashley's number, even though I just blocked it. She must have unblocked herself somehow, or was calling from a different device. I silenced it and set the phone face down on the counter. It rang 4 more times in the next 10 minutes. Then the call stopped. I walked upstairs to our bedroom, my bedroom now, I supposed, and pulled the suitcase from the closet. The large one we'd used for our honeymoon in Costa Rica. I started filling it with Ashley's clothes, working methodically through her side of the closet. Dresses, blouses, slacks, all the professional wardrobe she'd accumulated over the years. Her collection of heels. The jewelry box from her dresser. I wasn't being vindictive. I just wanted her things out of my sight. The doorbell rang as I was zipping the second suitcase closed. I knew it was her before I looked through the peephole. Ashley stood on our front porch, still wearing the coffee-stained blouse, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. Her eyes were red. I opened the door but didn't step aside to let her in. "Daniel, please." Her voice cracked. "Can we just talk? 5 minutes. There's nothing to talk about. The kids are at my parents' house, where they'll stay until I figure out what to tell them. You can't just take them away from me." "I'm not taking them away. I'm protecting them from having to watch their mother move out of the house." Ashley's face crumpled. "Move out? Daniel, this is my home too. You can't just—" "I emailed your HR department an hour ago." I kept my voice level, factual. "Included documentation of your relationship with Jason Murphy. The hotel receipts charged to company cards. The messages sent during work hours. All of it." The color drained from her face. "You didn't." "I did. That's my career. That's how I support our family. You should have thought about that before you decided to sleep with your subordinate for 6 months." I pulled my phone from my pocket and opened the photos. "I also have these ready to send to Jason's wife. Haven't decided yet if I will." The photos showed Jason and Ashley together at various locations, restaurants, hotel lobbies. One particularly damning shot of them kissing in a parking garage. Ashley's hand went to her mouth. "Oh God. You have until tomorrow evening to collect your things from the house. I'll be here to supervise. After that, I'm changing the locks." "You can't do that. Legally, this is my house too. Actually, I can. North Carolina is a fault state for divorce. Adultery is grounds. I've already spoken to an attorney." That was a lie. I had an appointment scheduled for Monday morning with David Walsh, a divorce attorney Ryan had recommended. But she didn't need to know that. "You'll be hearing from him early next week. Daniel, please, I made a mistake, a terrible mistake. But we can work through this. For Emma and Tyler, they need both their parents. They need parents who respect each other, who don't lie. You stopped being that person 6 months ago." A car pulled into the driveway behind Ashley's Lexus, a silver Honda. Jason Murphy climbed out of the driver's seat, his face set in a careful mask of neutrality. "Ashley, we should go," he called from the driveway. I looked at him, really looked at him, for the first time. 36, according to the background check I'd run. Divorced 2 years ago. 1 kid, a daughter. He'd been Ashley's hire, someone she'd promoted into his current position. "You brought him here?" I said to Ashley. "To our house?" "I didn't have anyone else to call. You blocked my number. Get off my property." I directed this at Jason. "Both of you. Now." Jason took a step forward. "Look, man, I understand you're upset. You understand nothing." The calm I'd maintained started cracking. "You're sleeping with a married woman, a woman with 2 kids, your boss. And you understand nothing. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? You were going to what? Wait until her kids were older? Until it was more convenient?" Ashley grabbed my arm. "Daniel, please, let's go inside and talk about this privately." I pulled away from her touch. "There is no private anymore. You made sure of that when you decided to have your affair in public places, when you used company resources, when you brought him to hotels where people could see you." "I'll resign," Ashley said suddenly. "From Meridian. I'll quit before they can fire me. We can move somewhere new, start over. There is no we anymore." The words hung in the air between us. Final. Irrevocable. Ashley's face went through several expressions: shock, denial, grief, anger, before settling into something harder, more calculating. "Fine," she said quietly. "If that's how you want to play this, fine. But you're not keeping my children from me. I'll fight you for custody. I'll fight you for the house. I'll fight you for everything. Good luck with that. North Carolina courts tend to frown on adultery, especially when it's this well documented." I stepped back inside and closed the door in her face. Through the window, I watched her stand there for a long moment before finally turning back to Jason's car. They drove away together. I locked the door and leaned against it, my heart finally starting to race now that the confrontation was over. My phone buzzed with a new email notification. The subject line read, Ethics Violation Report. Acknowledgement of receipt. Meridian's HR department worked fast on Saturdays, apparently. The divorce was finalized on a Tuesday, 14 months after I found that first message on Ashley's phone. North Carolina's mandatory one-year separation period meant I'd spent 365 days living in limbo. Not married, not single, watching my old life dissolve in slow motion while trying to build something new from the wreckage. I'd moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in South Charlotte, close enough to the kids' school that they could keep their routines. Ashley had taken a sales position at a smaller pharmaceutical company in Raleigh, a demotion disguised as a fresh start. Meridian had given her the option to resign quietly after their investigation confirmed everything I'd sent them. Jason Murphy had been terminated outright. No golden parachute, no quiet exit. The company's fraternization policy was clear about supervisors and subordinates, and the misuse of company resources, those hotel rooms charged to corporate cards, made it legally simple. I never did send those photos to his ex-wife. In the end, it felt like overkill. He'd lost his job, his reputation in the industry, and from what I'd heard through mutual acquaintances, his relationship with Ashley had imploded within 3 months. Turned out an affair built on deception, and hotel rooms didn't translate well to actual daily life. Emma was 8 now, Tyler 6. We'd told them together, Ashley and I, sitting in our family therapist's office on a Saturday morning last year. We'd used all the right words. Mommy and Daddy still love you. This isn't your fault. We'll both always be your parents. While they sat on the couch looking small and confused. Emma had cried. Tyler had asked if he could still have 2 Christmases like his friend Noah, whose parents were divorced. The custody arrangement was 60-40 in my favor. Ashley had them every other weekend and Wednesday nights. It wasn't what she'd wanted. She'd pushed hard for 50-50. But her move to Raleigh and the documented affair had weighted the scales. The judge had been professional but cool when reviewing the evidence. North Carolina might be moving away from fault-based divorce in practice, but it still mattered in custody decisions. I didn't sue Jason for alienation of affection. My attorney had drawn up the paperwork, had shown me the case law suggesting we'd likely win. But sitting in his office, looking at the filing that would drag everything back into court, back into public record, back into the open wound I was trying to close, I couldn't do it. It won't bring your marriage back, David Walsh had said, watching me stare at the unsigned documents. It'll just keep you angry longer. He was right. On the Tuesday, the divorce was finalized. I picked up Emma and Tyler from school and took them for ice cream. We sat at Sunshine Creamery, the same place we'd been going since Emma was 3, and I watched them argue over whether chocolate chip or mint was the superior flavor. Dad, Emma said, her face serious in that way 8-year-olds get when they're working up to something important. Are you sad about the divorce being done? I thought about how to answer that. The truth was complicated, relief mixed with grief. Freedom tangled with failure, hope struggling against cynicism. I'm sad about how things turned out, I said finally. But I'm not sad about moving forward. Does that make sense? She considered this, then nodded. Mom cried when she told us yesterday. Your mom is sad too. That's okay. People can be sad about the same thing for different reasons. Tyler, oblivious to the heavy conversation, had ice cream on his nose. Can we get a dog now? Noah's parents got divorced and he got a dog. We'll see, buddy. That means no, Emma translated with the weary wisdom of an older sibling. That means maybe, I corrected. After we're more settled. Driving home, I thought about the Daniel from 14 months ago. The one who'd stood in his kitchen, looking at a message on his wife's phone, feeling his world crack apart. That version of me had been so focused on evidence, on documentation, on building an airtight case. He'd needed that focus to survive those first weeks. The cold calculation had been armor against the pain. But armor gets heavy if you wear it too long. I'd learned that in therapy, the individual sessions I'd started 3 months after Ashley moved out, when the anger finally burned itself down to ash and I was left with just emptiness. Dr. Patricia Hall, I'd eventually learned her name despite my early resistance to therapy, had helped me understand that what I'd felt wasn't just betrayal. It was grief. Mourning the marriage I'd thought I had, the future I'd assumed was guaranteed, the person I'd believed my wife to be. "You can be right about what happened and still need to heal from it," she'd said during one session. "Justice and healing aren't the same thing." The house, my house now, legally and financially, was quiet when we got home. I'd bought out Ashley's share of the equity as part of the settlement. It had taken a second mortgage and most of my savings, but I'd wanted the kids to have stability, to keep their rooms, their neighborhood, their school district. I made dinner, spaghetti with turkey meatballs, Tyler's favorite, while Emma did homework at the kitchen table and Tyler built an elaborate Lego structure on the living room floor. This was my life now. Solo parent on weeknights, coordinating schedules, packing lunches, helping with math homework, enforcing bedtime routines. It was exhausting and lonely and sometimes overwhelming. It was also mine. Honest. Real. Built on truth instead of lies. My phone buzzed while I was draining the pasta. A text from Ryan. "Heard the divorce went through. You doing okay?" I typed back, "Yeah, taking the kids for ice cream became taking them for dinner became normal. Tuesday. I'm good." "That's growth, man. Proud of you. Thanks for everything. Couldn't have done this without you." "You could have, but I'm glad you didn't have to." After the kids were in bed, Emma reading in her room, Tyler finally asleep after 3 requests for water and 2 for additional bedtime stories, I poured myself a bourbon and sat on the back deck. The neighborhood was quiet. Lights glowed in windows up and down the street. Families doing their evening routines, same as me. Some of them happy, some struggling, some just getting through the day. You never really knew what was happening inside other people's houses. I'd learned that lesson the hard way. My phone showed a notification from a dating app I'd downloaded last month, but hadn't actually used yet. Sarah, a teacher, 35, liked hiking and mystery novels, had sent a message 3 days ago that I still hadn't answered. I wasn't ready. Maybe I wouldn't be for a while. But the fact that I downloaded the app at all felt like progress. Like I was at least open to the possibility of something new, eventually. When the scar tissue had finished forming over the wound, the bourbon was smooth, expensive, a bottle I'd bought to celebrate the Concord Medical Center project, finally getting its certificate of occupancy last month. Professional victories felt different now. Cleaner, somehow. They were mine alone, not shared with someone who might be lying about where she was or who she was with. I thought about Ashley sometimes, wondered how she was doing in Raleigh. If she was happy. If she regretted her choices or had convinced herself this was how things were always meant to turn out. We were cordial now, professional. We texted about pickup times and school events and Tyler's peanut allergy. We sat on opposite sides of the gym at Emma's basketball games. We were strangers who shared children and a past. The anger had faded, burned itself out over months of therapy and lawyers' offices and mediation sessions. What remained was something quieter. Acceptance, maybe. Understanding that I couldn't control what she'd done, only how I responded to it. I'd responded by choosing my kids, by choosing honesty, by refusing to let her betrayal turn me into someone bitter and vengeful beyond those first raw weeks. The coffee shop incident still made me wince when I thought about it. Dumping that latte over her head had felt righteous in the moment, had felt like justice. Looking back, it was just cruel, performative, the kind of thing that made a good story but didn't actually heal anything. I'd apologized for it, eventually. 6 months into the separation, during a mediation session, I'd looked across the table and said, "I'm sorry for humiliating you at Monarch. You deserved honesty and confrontation, but not that." Ashley had stared at me for a long moment, then nodded. "I'm sorry for everything else." It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was enough to move forward. The bourbon glass was empty. I considered pouring another, decided against it. Work tomorrow, and the Concord project had a site inspection at 8 a.m. Inside, I checked on the kids one more time. Emma had fallen asleep with her book on her chest, some fantasy novel about dragons and magic. Tyler was sprawled across his bed like a starfish, his favorite stuffed dinosaur clutched in one hand. They were okay. We were okay. That was enough. People always want to know if I regret how I handled it, if I wish I'd done things differently. The truth is complicated. I don't regret gathering evidence. I don't regret protecting myself legally and financially. I don't regret fighting for custody of my kids or making sure Ashley faced professional consequences for misusing company resources. But I do regret the coffee shop. I regret the satisfaction I felt watching her humiliation, the way I'd wanted her to hurt the way I was hurting. That wasn't justice. That was just pain trying to replicate itself. I learned something important during those 14 months between discovery and divorce. Betrayal reveals character, but so does your response to it. You can be the wronged party and still make wrong choices. You can be justified in your anger and still need to let it go. The affair wasn't my fault. Ashley made those choices. She lied. She cheated. She broke our marriage vows and our family apart. That's on her. But what I did with that betrayal, how I let it shape me or didn't, that was on me. I chose to be the parent who showed up, who packed lunches and attended school plays and helped with homework. I chose to be honest with my kids about what happened, in age-appropriate ways, without making them choose sides. I chose to build a new life instead of just mourning the old one. Some days that choice was easy. Some days it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. But it was always a choice. If there's a moral to this story, it's this. Trust isn't naive, but blind trust is dangerous. Pay attention to the people you love. Notice the changes, the distance, the small inconsistencies that your gut flags, even when your heart wants to ignore them. And if you find yourself where I was, standing in your kitchen, looking at evidence of betrayal, feeling your world crack apart, remember that you get to decide what comes next. Not immediately. Not in the white-hot fury of discovery. But eventually. You can choose revenge or healing, bitterness or growth. You can let the betrayal define you, or you can define yourself despite it. I'm still learning which person I want to be. But I'm learning with my eyes open this time. And that makes all the difference.